The billionaire hid cameras to protect his paralyzed twins, until he saw what the maid did. Daniel Carter had mastered the art of observation without connection. From his penthouse office overlooking Lake Michigan, he could track stock portfolios across 3 continents, predict market crashes before they happened, and orchestrate billion-dollar mergers with a single phone call. Control was his currency. Distance was his protection. But on a rainy October night 6 months ago, control shattered like the windshield of his Mercedes. The semi-truck came from nowhere. Emma, his wife of 10 years, the woman who once laughed at his need to plan everything, died before the ambulance arrived. Their 5-year-old twins, Leo and Lucas, survived. Barely. The doctors used words like spinal trauma, permanent paralysis, and adapted mobility. Daniel heard only one word: broken. He survived without a scratch. And that became his curse. Now, his sons sat in custom wheelchairs in a sprawling Chicago mansion that felt more like a museum than a home. 12 rooms. 5 bathrooms. 0 laughter. Daniel told himself he was protecting them by hiring the best physical therapists, the most qualified nurses, the top-rated specialists. He told himself that working 18-hour days was necessary, someone had to pay for their care. But the truth was simpler and more painful: he couldn't bear to look at them. So he installed cameras instead. Hidden in smoke detectors, tucked inside picture frames, embedded in wall outlets. 47 cameras throughout the house. He could watch his sons from his office, from board meetings, from business dinners where he smiled and shook hands while his phone screen showed 2 small boys eating dinner alone. He told himself it was for their safety. It was the greatest lie he'd ever believed. Then Ana Morales walked through his door, and everything he thought he knew about protection, love, and fatherhood was about to change, in the most unexpected way possible. The morning Daniel hired Ana Morales, he wasn't even home. His assistant, Margaret, conducted the interview in the mansion's formal sitting room, a space so precisely decorated that even the sunlight seemed arranged by an interior designer. Margaret had reviewed 17 candidates that week. Most were overqualified and overpriced, armed with certifications in childhood development and pediatric care. Anna arrived 20 minutes early, wearing a simple blue dress and carrying a resume that could fit on half a page. No fancy degrees. No references from wealthy families. Just 3 years cleaning houses in the suburbs and a quiet determination in her dark eyes that Margaret couldn't quite explain but somehow trusted. The position is primarily housekeeping, Margaret explained, her reading glasses perched on her nose. But Mr. Carter's sons, they've been through a terrible accident. They're in wheelchairs now. You'd be around them frequently. Does that concern you? Anna's response was immediate. Why would it? Margaret blinked. Most candidates had offered elaborate assurances about their comfort level, their experience, their specialized training. Anna simply asked why it would matter. They're 5 years old, Anna continued, folding her hands in her lap. They need someone who sees children, not wheelchairs. I can do that. Margaret hired her on the spot. Daniel learned about his new employee through a text message during a merger negotiation. New housekeeper starts Monday. Latina woman, late 20s, basic English, references adequate. Salary discussed. He approved without looking up from his contracts. Anna's first day began at 7 in the morning. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of a physical therapist working with the twins in the converted playroom. Margaret gave her a quick tour: kitchen, laundry room, bathrooms to clean, floors to vacuum, surfaces to dust. The boys' rooms are on the 2nd floor, Margaret said, her voice dropping slightly. Mr. Carter prefers that we maintain a quiet environment. The twins have their therapy schedule, their meals are prepared by a private chef, and there's a nurse who comes twice daily. Your responsibilities don't include childcare. Just, be respectful of their space. What Margaret didn't say hung in the air like humidity: don't get attached. Don't interfere. Don't try to fix what's broken here. Anna nodded and got to work. She moved through the house like water, quiet, thorough, noticing everything. The dust on the piano that clearly hadn't been played in months. The family photos turned face down on the mantel. The children's artwork still taped to the refrigerator, bright crayon drawings of stick figure families holding hands, images from before the world split in two. By noon, she'd cleaned 3 bathrooms, vacuumed 2 floors, and was washing windows in the kitchen when she heard it, the soft sound of wheels on hardwood. Leo appeared first, maneuvering his small wheelchair with the careful concentration of a child who'd had to grow up too fast. His brother Lucas followed, the two of them moving in the synchronized way that twins often do, as if connected by invisible thread. They stopped when they saw Anna. She stopped too, her hand still on the window with a cleaning cloth, and for a moment, the 3 of them simply looked at each other. The boys had their father's blue eyes, Daniel's eyes, but where his held walls in winter, theirs held questions. "Hello," Anna said simply, in English touched with the melodic rhythm of Spanish. She didn't kneel down. Didn't rush over. Didn't flood them with pity or forced enthusiasm. "Hi," Leo whispered. Lucas said nothing, but his small hand gripped his brother's wheelchair. "I'm Anna. I work here now. I clean things." She held up her cloth as proof, and something in that gesture, the honesty of it, the lack of pretense, made Lucas's shoulders relax just slightly. "Are you going to leave too?" Leo asked, his voice so quiet it barely traveled across the room. Anna's hand lowered slowly. "Leave?" "Everyone leaves," Lucas added, his first words carrying the weight of abandonment that no 5-year-old should understand. Anna set down her cleaning supplies and walked closer, not hovering, not invading their space, but close enough that they could see her face clearly. "I just got here," she said gently. "And I don't break promises. If I say I'll stay, I stay. Do you promise?" Leo's eyes were wet. Anna had learned long ago not to make promises she couldn't keep. Life had taught her that the hard way, through a father who left, a mother who worked 3 jobs, and a younger brother she'd helped raise when childhood should have been her own. But looking at these 2 small boys in their wheelchairs, in this enormous house that somehow felt smaller than a closet, she made a decision. "I promise." That night, from his office downtown, Daniel watched the footage of that first meeting on his phone. He watched Anna speak to his sons, really speak to them, not at them. He watched the way Leo's posture changed. The way Lucas's grip on his wheelchair loosened. He watched, and something uncomfortable stirred in his chest. Then he closed the app, returned to his emails, and pushed the feeling down where all the other feelings lived, in the dark, where they couldn't hurt him. The house operated on a schedule so precise it could have been mistaken for a military base. 7 a.m., wake up, morning medications. 8 a.m., breakfast, prepared by a chef who arrived before dawn and left before the twins were done eating. 9 a.m. to noon, physical therapy, occupational therapy, educational tutoring. Afternoon, rest period, more medications, monitored play. Evening, dinner, bath time, conducted by the night nurse, bed by 8. Daniel had designed the schedule himself, consulting with specialists, ensuring every moment was optimized for his son's recovery and development. On paper, it was perfect. In reality, it was suffocating. Anna noticed within 3 days. She noticed how Leo's eyes tracked the clock during therapy sessions, not with hope but with resignation. How Lucas barely touched his carefully portioned meals. How neither boy spoke unless spoken to, their voices growing quieter each day, as if they were slowly learning to take up less space in the world. On her 4th day, while dusting the 2nd-floor hallway, Anna heard crying. She followed the sound to the twins' bedroom, a space designed by child psychologists to be stimulating yet calming, with educational posters on the walls and therapeutic toys arranged in precise bins. Leo sat in his wheelchair by the window, his small shoulders shaking, trying to muffle his sobs in his shirt. Lucas sat beside him, not crying, but holding his brother's hand. Anna stood in the doorway. "May I come in?" Lucas looked up, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded. She entered slowly and sat on the floor, not in a chair, not on the bed, but on the floor, cross-legged, at their eye level. "What's wrong?" "Leo misses Mom," Lucas said simply, his 5-year-old vocabulary unable to capture the enormity of loss. Leo's crying intensified. Anna didn't offer platitudes. Didn't tell him it would be okay, that time heals all wounds, that his mother was in a better place, all the empty phrases that adults use to fill the silence when they don't know what else to say. Instead, she said, "Tell me about her." Leo looked up, tears streaming down his face. "What?" "Your mom. Tell me something about her. Something that made her, her." The twins exchanged glances, that twin telepathy that siblings share. Then Leo whispered, "She made up songs. Silly ones. When we were sad, she'd sing about dinosaurs eating pancakes. And we'd laugh. She said laughing was the best medicine," Lucas added, his own eyes now wet. "Better than the real medicine." "She sounds wonderful," Anna said quietly. "Dad never talks about her," Leo said. It's like she wasn't even real." Anna felt anger flash through her, not at the boys, but at the man who watched them through cameras but couldn't sit with them in their grief. She pushed it down. She was real. And it's okay to miss her. It's okay to cry. It's okay to remember. "The nurse says we shouldn't cry so much," Lucas said. "She says it's not good for our health. That we need to focus on getting stronger." "The nurse is wrong," Anna said firmly. "Crying makes you strong. Your mom knew that. That's why she gave you laughter, because she knew life was hard, and you needed both. The tears and the laughter." For a long moment, the room was quiet except for Leo's sniffles. Then Anna made a decision. "Do you want to hear a silly song?" she asked. Both boys looked at her with surprise. "My abuela, my grandmother, she used to sing to me and my brother when we were sad. It's in Spanish, but it's about a cat who thinks he's a superhero. It's very ridiculous." Lucas's lips twitched, not quite a smile, but close. Anna began to sing. Her voice wasn't perfect, wasn't trained, but it was warm and genuine and completely, utterly silly. She sang about El Gato Valiente, the brave cat who wore a cape made of tortillas and saved the neighborhood from evil vacuum cleaners. By the second verse, Leo had stopped crying. By the third verse, Lucas was smiling. By the fourth verse, both boys were giggling. And in his office, watching the footage on his phone between conference calls, Daniel Carter heard his sons laugh for the first time in 6 months. The sound pierced through all his carefully constructed walls like sunlight through ice. He closed his laptop. He stared at the screen. And he realized he didn't recognize the sound of his own children's joy. That night, he stayed at the office until midnight, working on a deal that didn't need his attention, because going home meant facing what he'd heard. What he'd lost. What he'd been too afraid to find. Anna, meanwhile, tucked the twins into bed, something the night nurse usually did, but the nurse hadn't arrived yet. She read them a story, not from their collection of educational books about resilience and adaptation, but from a battered copy of Where the Wild Things Are that she found hidden in Lucas's nightstand. "Anna?" Leo asked, as she was about to leave. "Yes? Will you sing tomorrow too?" She smiled. "Only if you promise to teach me one of your mom's dinosaur songs." The boys beamed. As Anna walked downstairs, she passed the night nurse arriving late, coffee in hand, apologizing for traffic. Anna simply nodded and continued to the kitchen, where she'd left her cleaning supplies. She didn't notice the small camera embedded in the hallway smoke detector. But Daniel did. He watched the footage 3 times. Watched Anna sit on the floor. Watched her sing. Watched his sons come back to life in a way that no amount of therapy or medication or expensive specialists had achieved. He should have felt grateful. Instead, he felt exposed. Because if a housekeeper with no training could reach his sons in 4 days, what did that say about him? About his 18-hour workdays? About his cameras and schedules and carefully maintained distance? Daniel poured himself 3 fingers of scotch and made himself watch the footage a 4th time. This time, he let himself feel it. And it nearly broke him. By the end of her 2nd week, Anna had developed a routine that existed in the margins of the twins' structured schedule. She learned to time her cleaning so that she'd be vacuuming near the playroom during their afternoon rest period. She'd leave the door open, and the boys would wheel themselves out to watch her work. At first, they just watched. Then they started talking. "Why do you clean the windows in circles?" Lucas asked one afternoon, his chin propped on his small fist. Anna paused, spray bottle in hand. "Because that's how my abuela taught me. She said circles don't have corners where dirt can hide." "That's smart," Leo said seriously. "Your abuela sounds smart," Lucas added. "She was," Anna replied, returning to her circles. "She raised 5 kids by herself. She could fix anything, broken chairs, broken hearts, broken dreams. She said the secret was paying attention to small things. Everyone wants to fix big problems, but big problems are just lots of small problems holding hands." The twins considered this with the gravity that children apply to wisdom they don't quite understand but somehow know is important. "Are we a big problem?" Leo asked quietly. Anna stopped cleaning. She set down the spray bottle and turned to face them fully. "No. You're 2 boys who've had big problems happen to them. That's different." "What's the difference?" Lucas asked. "A problem is something wrong that needs fixing. You 2 aren't wrong. Nothing about you needs fixing. But the problems that happened, your mom, your accident, your dad being sad, those are things that need attention. Small moments of attention, every day, until the big problem doesn't feel so big anymore." Leo wheeled closer. "Is that why you sing to us?" "Partly," Anna admitted. "But mostly I sing because it makes you smile. And your smiles are my favorite small moments." From that day forward, the twins began seeking out small moments with Anna. They'd ask her about her family, her childhood, her favorite foods. She'd tell them stories about growing up with her younger brother Miguel, about her mother who worked night shifts at a hospital, about the tiny apartment where music and laughter filled the space that money couldn't. The boys told her about their mother, slowly, hesitantly at first, then with increasing confidence. How she'd let them jump on the bed when Dad was traveling. How she'd make breakfast for dinner when she was too tired to cook properly. How she'd read the same story 5 times if they asked, doing different voices each time. Anna listened to every word, and in listening, she gave them something more valuable than therapy: permission to remember, to grieve, to still be children even though the world had forced them to grow up too fast. The cameras captured all of it. Daniel watched obsessively. Between meetings, during lunch breaks, late at night when sleep wouldn't come. He watched Anna fold laundry while the twins told her jokes. Watched her teach them a hand-clapping game from her childhood. Watched her sit on the kitchen floor during her lunch break, eating a sandwich while the boys ate theirs, the 3 of them discussing whether dinosaurs would prefer pizza or tacos. "Pizza," Leo insisted. "Because of the size. Dinosaurs are big." "Tacos," Lucas countered. "Because they can eat lots of them. More is better." "What do you think, Anna?" they asked in unison. "I think," Anna said seriously, "that dinosaurs would eat both. And then they'd eat the plate. And the table. And maybe the kitchen." The boys dissolved into giggles. Daniel paused the footage and stared at the frozen image, his sons mid-laugh, mouths open, eyes bright. Anna smiling at them with an expression that could only be called love. When had he last sat on the floor with them? When had he last made them laugh? He couldn't remember. The realization didn't come with the sharp pain he'd been expecting. Instead, it arrived as a dull, persistent ache, the kind that signals something has been broken for so long, you've learned to function around it. That Friday, Daniel left work early, 5 p.m. instead of his usual 9 or 10. He told Margaret he had a headache. In truth, he wanted to see it in person. Wanted to be home when Anna was still there, when his sons weren't yet in bed, when the house was still alive. He arrived home at 5:47 p.m. The house was not quiet. From the kitchen came the sound of laughter and something else, a rhythmic banging, like drums. Daniel set down his briefcase and followed the noise. What he saw stopped him in the doorway. Leo and Lucas sat on the kitchen floor. Somehow, impossibly, they'd maneuvered out of their wheelchairs to sit cross-legged on the cold tile. Pots and pans were arranged in front of them like an improvised drum kit. They were banging on them with wooden spoons, creating a cacophony that probably violated several noise ordinances. And Anna was on the floor with them, lying on her stomach, head propped in her hands, watching them perform with the rapt attention of someone at Carnegie Hall. "Louder," she encouraged. "The dinosaurs in the backyard can't hear you." The boys banged harder, laughing so hard they could barely hold the spoons. Daniel's phone buzzed. A client calling. He ignored it. He just watched. Watched the scene that his cameras had shown him a dozen times but that somehow felt entirely different in person. The sound filled the kitchen, chaotic and joyful and alive. The exact opposite of the silence he'd been maintaining for 6 months. Anna saw him first. Her smile faltered. She sat up quickly. "Mr. Carter. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you come in. I should have." "Don't," Daniel said, his voice rougher than intended. The boys stopped drumming. Their faces fell, joy evaporating like steam. Lucas started. "I can clean this up right away," Anna interrupted, already reaching for the pots. "Don't," Daniel repeated. He stepped into the kitchen, his expensive shoes silent on the tile. I wanted to say." He faltered, words failing him. 3 faces looked up at him, 2 small, fearful ones, and 1 wary but defiant. "You don't pay me for childcare," Anna said quietly. "I know that. But they wanted to play, and I thought." "Thank you," Daniel finally managed. Anna blinked. "What?" "Thank you," he repeated. "For this." He gestured vaguely at the scene. "For them." The twins exchanged confused glances. Anna studied him with those dark, unreadable eyes. After a long moment, she nodded once. "They're good boys. It's easy to." She trailed off, perhaps realizing the implication of her unfinished sentence, "It's easy to love them." Daniel should have said more. Should have sat down. Should have picked up a spoon and joined them. Instead, he retreated. "I'll be in my office. Don't worry about the noise." He turned and walked away, leaving the kitchen and its laughter behind. That night, watching the footage of his own brief appearance, Daniel saw what the others had seen, a ghost haunting his own home, afraid to join the living. He closed his laptop. Poured a drink. And admitted something he'd been denying for 6 months, he wasn't protecting his sons from pain. He was protecting himself. And in doing so, he was losing them. 3 weeks after Anna started, the house had changed in ways both visible and invisible. The visible changes were small, fresh flowers in the kitchen that Anna bought with her own money. The twins' artwork no longer confined to the refrigerator but displayed throughout the house. The piano's dust cover removed, though no one played it yet. The invisible changes ran deeper. Leo spoke more, his voice growing stronger each day. Lucas smiled without prompting. Both boys had begun physical therapy with renewed effort, not because anyone pushed them, but because Anna had casually mentioned how strong they were getting, and they wanted to prove her right. The therapist reported the improvements to Daniel in a scheduled phone call. "Whatever you're doing at home, Mr. Carter, it's working. The boys are more engaged, more motivated. Their progress in the last month has exceeded the previous 5 combined." Daniel thanked her and hung up. He knew exactly what he was doing at home: nothing. Anna was doing everything. And he was watching it happen through 47 hidden cameras like some kind of voyeur in his own life. The guilt had begun as a whisper and grown into a roar. It kept him up at night, accompanied him through meetings, sat beside him in empty restaurants where he ate dinner alone. He'd started the surveillance to protect his sons. To monitor their care. To ensure their safety. But at some point, he couldn't pinpoint exactly when, the cameras had become something else. A barrier. A way to experience his sons' lives without risking his own heart. To see their healing without participating in it. He told himself he'd remove the cameras. Soon. After this next deal. After the board meeting. After things settled down. But things never settled down, because Daniel kept them churning, kept himself busy, kept the distance exactly where he wanted it, close enough to observe, far enough to avoid feeling. Then came the afternoon that changed everything. It was a Tuesday. Daniel sat in a conference room with 6 lawyers and 3 potential investors, discussing the acquisition of a promising AI startup. His phone, set to silent, buzzed insistently in his pocket. The security app. He ignored it once. Twice. The buzzing continued, unusual for the app, which only sent notifications for major events. "Excuse me," Daniel muttered, stepping out of the room. He opened the app. Kitchen camera. Live feed. What he saw made his blood run cold. Leo was on the floor, not sitting playfully as he'd done before, but lying motionless, his small body crumpled at an awkward angle near his overturned wheelchair. Lucas sat in his own chair, frozen, tears streaming down his face, his mouth open in what must have been screaming, though Daniel couldn't hear it through the app. And Anna was on the floor beside Leo, her hands on his chest, her lips moving rapidly, her face a mask of controlled panic. Daniel ran. He left the conference room without explanation, left his briefcase, left 6 confused lawyers and 3 irritated investors. He sprinted to his car, drove through 3 red lights, and burst through his front door 17 minutes later, the fastest he'd ever made the trip from downtown. The house was quiet. Too quiet. "Leo," he shouted, his voice cracking with terror. "Lucas. We're up here." Anna's voice came from the 2nd floor. "Mr. Carter, it's okay." Daniel took the stairs 3 at a time. He found them in the twins' bedroom. Leo sat on his bed, pale but conscious, an ice pack pressed to the back of his head. Lucas clung to his brother's hand. Anna knelt beside the bed, her face calm but her hands trembling slightly. "What happened?" Daniel demanded, rushing to Leo's side. "I saw, the camera showed." He stopped. Anna's face transformed. The calm shattered, replaced by something between hurt and fury. "Camera," she repeated slowly. Leo looked up at his father with confusion. "What camera, Dad?" Daniel's mouth went dry. In his panic, he'd revealed what he'd worked so carefully to hide. "Mr. Carter," Anna stood slowly. "What camera?" There was no way out. No explanation that wouldn't sound exactly like what it was, a confession. "I installed security cameras," he said, his voice hollow. "Throughout the house. For safety. To monitor. To spy," Anna finished, her accent thickening with emotion. "You've been watching us. This whole time. Without telling me. Without." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I thought you were just distant. Just grieving. But you've been here the whole time, haven't you? Watching. Hiding behind screens. Anna, I can explain. No, she cut him off. You can't. Because there's no explanation that makes this okay. You hire someone to care for your home, to be around your children, and you don't trust them enough to tell them they're being recorded? Every moment? Every conversation? It wasn't about trust. It's exactly about trust. Her voice rose, then caught. She pressed her hands to her face, took a breath, and when she spoke again, her voice was quiet and devastated. I shared things with them. Personal things. Stories about my family. About my life. I thought this was a home. I thought I was helping. You were, Daniel said desperately. You are. Anna, you've done more for my sons in 3 weeks than anyone. Don't, she warned. Don't you dare make this about them to justify what you did to me. Lucas started crying. Leo wrapped his arm around his brother, but his eyes stayed on his father, confused, hurt, disappointed. What happened? Daniel asked again, more quietly this time. With Leo. I saw him on the floor. He fell, Anna said flatly. Transferring from his wheelchair to the floor. We were playing, like we always do, and he misjudged the movement. Bumped his head. I checked for concussion symptoms. Called his doctor. Followed the protocols. He's fine. No thanks to you. The words hit like physical blows. I came as soon as I saw. You came as soon as your cameras told you to, Anna corrected. Where were you when they were lonely? When they cried for their mother? When they needed a father, not a security system? Daniel had no answer. Anna turned to the twins. Her expression softened instantly. Leo, Lucas, I need to go now. But I need you to know that nothing that happened today is your fault. Okay? You're perfect. Both of you. Are you coming back? Leo whispered. Anna's eyes filled with tears. I don't know, Carino. She walked past Daniel without looking at him. He heard her footsteps on the stairs, heard the front door open, heard it close. The house fell silent again, the terrible, familiar silence he'd been living with for 6 months. Daniel sank into the chair beside Leo's bed. His sons looked at him with expressions he'd never seen before, not fear, not distance, but disappointment. They'd expected so little from him that he'd managed to fail even those low expectations. Dad? Lucas said eventually. Why did you hide cameras? Daniel looked at his sons, really looked at them, and realized he'd never actually answered that question for himself. Not honestly. Because, he started, his voice breaking, I was afraid. Of what? Leo asked. Of losing you. Of. He stopped, tried again. When the accident happened, I couldn't save your mother. I couldn't protect you from getting hurt. And I thought if I could just watch you closely enough, if I could control everything, then nothing bad would happen again. I thought I could keep you safe without being here. Lucas finished. Daniel nodded, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The twins were quiet for a long moment. Then Leo said, you should apologize to Anna too. She won't want to hear it, Daniel said. Probably not, Lucas agreed. But you should still try. That's what Mom used to say. You can't fix anything if you don't try. From the mouths of 5-year-olds came the wisdom Daniel had spent 6 months avoiding. He left them to rest and went to his office. The security system's control panel glowed on his desk. 47 camera feeds, 47 windows into his home, 47 ways to avoid living in it. Daniel began shutting them down, one by one. It took 14 minutes to dismantle the system he'd spent weeks installing. When he was done, the monitors went black. For the first time in 6 months, he couldn't see his sons unless he actually went to them. The vulnerability was terrifying. And necessary. He picked up his phone and called Margaret. "I need Anna Morales's phone number," he said. "And I need to be home for dinner from now on. Every night. Clear my schedule." "Sir?" "I'm done watching, Margaret. It's time to actually live." After he hung up, Daniel sat in the darkness of his office, really darkness now, without the glow of surveillance monitors, and felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. And terror. And the possibility that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to become the father his sons deserved. Anna didn't answer his calls. She didn't respond to his texts. For 3 days, Daniel tried to reach her while simultaneously attempting something he hadn't done in months: be present. He worked from home, actual home, not his office. He set up his laptop in the kitchen so he could be near the twins during their afternoon rest period. He attended Leo's physical therapy session, watching as his son struggled to strengthen muscles that might never work the way they should. He sat through dinner, attempting conversation with 2 boys who'd forgotten how to talk to their father. It was excruciating. "How was therapy today?" he'd ask. "Fine," Leo would answer. Silence. "Did you do anything interesting?" he'd try again. "Not really," Lucas would say. More silence. Without Anna's easy warmth, the house felt like a museum again. The twins were polite but distant, treating him like a stranger who happened to live in their home. Which, Daniel realized with brutal clarity, was exactly what he'd become. On the 4th day, he stopped trying to call. Instead, he drove to Anna's apartment, an address Margaret had reluctantly provided, "For emergency contact purposes only, Mr. Carter, and I'm trusting that this qualifies." The building was in a neighborhood Daniel's GPS had politely suggested he avoid. Peeling paint. Iron bars on windows. A broken elevator that forced him to climb 4 flights of stairs. The contrast with his mansion was so stark it felt like satire. He knocked on apartment 4C. Anna opened the door wearing sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt, her hair pulled back, her face free of makeup. She looked younger. More vulnerable. And absolutely furious to see him. "How did you get this address?" "Margaret." "I'm sorry. I needed to." "No," Anna cut him off. "You don't get to come to my home. You don't get to." She stopped, closed her eyes, took a breath. When she spoke again, her voice was controlled. "What do you want?" "To apologize. To explain. To." "There's nothing to explain, Mr. Carter. You installed cameras without telling me because you didn't trust me around your sons. You watched me, watched us, like we were suspects in your home instead of people. And when I found out, you didn't apologize. You made excuses." "You're right," Daniel said immediately. "About all of it. I was wrong." Anna blinked, clearly not expecting agreement. "The cameras weren't about you," Daniel continued. "They were never about you. They were about me being a coward. After the accident, I couldn't bear to be near my sons because every time I looked at them, I saw what I'd failed to protect them from. I saw my wife dying. I saw their legs that don't work. I saw every single way I'd failed as a father and a husband." His voice cracked. He pushed on. "So I installed cameras because I could watch them without them watching me back. I could see them laugh, see them heal, see them grow, and I could pretend I was somehow part of it without actually risking anything. Without risking feeling what I feel when I'm actually with them." "Which is what?" Anna asked quietly. "Guilt," Daniel whispered. "Grief. Terror that I'll fail them again. That I'll lose them the way I lost Emma. That I'm not enough. That I've never been enough. Anna's expression softened, but only slightly. Mr. Carter. Daniel. Please. Daniel, she corrected. I understand grief. I understand fear. What I don't understand is why you thought hiding was the answer. Why you thought controlling everything from a distance would somehow protect them more than just being there. Because being there hurts, Daniel admitted. Being there means facing what I did. What I couldn't prevent. And I'm not. He stopped, started again. I'm not as strong as you. You sit on floors with them. You sing. You play. You make them laugh. I watch you do all of that, and I think, how? How are you not afraid that they'll get hurt? That something will go wrong? I am afraid, Anna said simply. Every day. Every time Leo transfers from his wheelchair, I'm afraid he'll fall. Every time Lucas gets quiet, I'm afraid he's drowning in grief. Being afraid is part of loving people. You don't get one without the other. So how do you do it? I show up anyway, Anna said. Even when I'm scared. Even when I don't have answers. Because that's what love is, it's not protection. It's presence. The words hung between them. I removed the cameras, Daniel said. All of them. The system's gone. Anna studied him. Why? Because my sons told me to apologize to you. And I realized they've learned more about being decent humans in 3 weeks with you than in 5 years with me. Because I don't want to watch my life anymore. I want to live it. A door opened down the hall. A neighbor, an elderly woman with a walker, emerged, eyed Daniel suspiciously, and shuffled toward the stairs. You should go, Anna said. This isn't. I can't fix your relationship with your sons. That's not my job. I know, Daniel said. I'm not here to ask you to fix anything. I'm here to ask you to come back. Not for me, for them. Because in 3 weeks, you gave them something I couldn't give them in 6 months. You gave them permission to be children again. They need their father, not a housekeeper who plays on the floor with them. They need both, Daniel said. And so do I. Anna's eyes searched his face. I don't trust you. I understand. If I come back, it's not because I forgive you. It's because those boys deserve consistency. They've lost too much already. I won't be another person who walks away from them. That's all I'm asking. Anna considered. The hallway was dim, the fluorescent light flickering overhead. From somewhere in the building came the sound of a TV turned up too loud and a baby crying. Finally, she said, I'll come back Monday. But things change. No more hiding. No more excuses. If you're going to be in that house, you actually have to be in it. Present. With them. Do you understand? Yes. And you owe me a real conversation. About Emma. About the accident. About why you think being afraid means you get to disappear. But not today. Today, I'm angry. Today, you leave. Daniel nodded. Thank you. He turned to go, then paused. Anna? The boys asked about you. Every day. They miss you. Something flickered across her face, pain, longing, love. But her voice remained firm. Tell them I miss them too. And tell them I'm coming back. Because I promised I would. Daniel left, climbing down 4 flights of stairs and emerging into the afternoon sunlight. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. He felt more exposed than he'd felt in months. It was terrifying. And somehow, it was also a relief. When he got home, he found Leo and Lucas in the playroom, working on a puzzle with the occupational therapist. He watched from the doorway for a moment, not from a camera, but from actual presence. The therapist noticed him first. "Mr. Carter. We're just finishing up. May I join?" Daniel asked. Both twins looked up, surprise clear on their faces. Leo said. "Sure." Daniel sat on the floor, his expensive suit pants on the carpet, his back against the wall, and picked up a puzzle piece. His hands weren't steady. He wasn't sure what to say. The silence felt enormous. But he stayed. And eventually, Lucas handed him another piece and said, "That one goes in the corner." It wasn't much. But it was a beginning. Monday morning arrived with the weight of second chances. Anna showed up at 7 a.m., as if the previous week's revelation had been merely a minor inconvenience. But everything was different. She carried herself differently, more guarded, more careful. And Daniel was there, actually there, having spent the weekend attempting the simple, revolutionary act of being a father. The weekend had been messy. He'd burned their breakfast Saturday morning, forgotten that Lucas couldn't eat strawberries, allergy, how had he forgotten that, and accidentally scheduled a therapy appointment over what the twins called our dinosaur show time. But he'd stayed. Sat with them. Tried. When Anna entered the kitchen, she found Daniel already making breakfast, or trying to. Pancake batter splattered on his shirt. A smoking pan in the sink. Leo and Lucas at the table, watching their father's domestic incompetence with a mixture of amusement and concern. "Mr. Carter," Anna said carefully. "Would you like help?" "No," Daniel said, then caught himself. "Actually, yes. I would. I don't know what I'm doing." Something shifted in Anna's expression. She set down her bag, washed her hands, and joined him at the stove. "First, the heat is too high. That's why they're burning." Together, they salvaged breakfast. Daniel watched how she moved, efficient, confident, present. She didn't take over. She guided. And when the twins finally had edible pancakes in front of them, she said, "Your father made these." "They're not as good as yours," Lucas said honestly. "They're better," Leo countered, surprising everyone. "Because Dad made them." Daniel felt something crack open in his chest. The days that followed established a new rhythm. Anna arrived, cleaned, but she was no longer alone with the twins for hours at a time. Daniel worked from the kitchen table. He attended every therapy session. He learned their schedules not from notifications on his phone but from living them. It was exhausting. He'd forgotten how much energy children required. How many questions 5-year-olds could ask. How bedtime somehow took 2 hours every single night. But he stayed. And slowly, imperceptibly, the house came back to life. One evening, 2 weeks after Anna's return, Daniel came home from a necessary board meeting to find music playing in the living room. Not children's music, Bob Dylan, one of Emma's favorites. He followed the sound. Anna sat at the piano, her fingers moving across the keys with surprising grace. The twins sat on either side of her on the bench. Somehow they'd figured out how to transfer themselves there, watching her hands, occasionally pressing a key themselves. Daniel stood in the doorway, frozen. "Your wife's music," Anna said without looking up. "I found it in the piano bench. The boys asked if I knew how to play. I learned a little when I was young." "Play something else," Leo urged. Anna transitioned into something lighter, something that made Lucas laugh. Her playing wasn't professional, but it was joyful. The kind of imperfect beauty that only comes from doing something purely for love of it. When the song ended, Daniel spoke. "She played better than me, but worse than she wished. She'd practice late at night when she thought everyone was asleep. Said she was learning for the boys, wanted to be able to play at their school concerts." It was the first time he'd spoken about Emma in months. The twins turned to look at him. "Did she ever play at our concerts?" Lucas asked. You were too young, Daniel said. But she would have. She was excited about it. Can we learn? Leo asked. To play like Mom wanted? Anna's hand stilled on the keys. She looked at Daniel, giving him the choice. Yes, he said. We can all learn. Together. That night, after the twins were asleep, Daniel found Anna in the kitchen, preparing to leave. You said I owed you a conversation, he said. About Emma. About everything. Anna paused, her coat halfway on. Not if you're not ready, she added. I'll never be ready, Daniel admitted. But you deserve to know. You deserve to understand who you've been helping to repair. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Daniel used to review contracts while his sons ate dinner alone. Now, in the quiet house, with only the hum of the refrigerator breaking the silence, he told her everything. About Emma. About their love story that started in college and survived his ruthless business ambition because she'd loved him anyway. About how she'd wanted more children but agreed to wait until his company was stable. About how that stability never came because there was always one more deal, one more acquisition, one more reason to delay living their actual lives. About the accident. The rain. The truck. The screaming. The way Emma's hand went limp in his while they waited for ambulances. The way the boys cried in the back seat, not understanding why Mommy wouldn't answer. About the guilt. The way it ate him alive every time he looked at his sons and saw the future Emma would never witness. The sports they'd never play. The milestones they'd reach differently. The life that should have been normal but never would be again. About the cameras. The pathetic, cowardly attempt to be present without risking presence. When he finished, his face was wet with tears he hadn't realized he was crying. Anna reached across the table and took his hand. Not as a romantic gesture, but as a human one. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For all of it. For Emma. For the accident. For the guilt you carry. I don't deserve. Stop, Anna interrupted. You don't get to decide what you deserve. That's not how this works. You made mistakes. You're making different choices now. That's all any of us can do. Why did you come back? Daniel asked. Really? Anna considered. Because I saw something in this house. Something broken but not destroyed. Your sons, they have so much love in them, even after everything. And you're not a bad father. You're a scared one. There's a difference. Is there? Yes, she said firmly. A bad father doesn't care. A scared father cares too much and doesn't know how to hold it. You can learn how to hold it. Emma would want you to learn. The name hung in the air between them, no longer forbidden, but spoken with care. Tell me about your family, Daniel said. It's not fair that you know everything about mine. Anna smiled, small, but genuine. My mother works 3 jobs. My brother is in college studying engineering. My father, he left when I was 8. Taught me early that people can disappoint you. But also that you can survive disappointment and still find joy. My abuela, before she died, she used to say, El dolor es el precio del amor. Pain is the price of love. You don't get to love people without the risk of losing them. That's terrifying, Daniel said. Yes, Anna agreed. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is this, she gestured around the empty kitchen, a house full of people who are all alone. Daniel nodded slowly. I don't know how to be good at this. At being present. I spent so long being absent, I forgot how to be anything else. Then learn, Anna said simply. Your sons will teach you if you let them. They're very good teachers. And you? Daniel asked. Will you teach me? Anna stood, pulling on her coat. I'm your employee, Mr. Carter. Not your therapist. Not your family. I'll show up every day, and I'll do my job, and I'll love those boys because they make it easy to love them. But you need to figure out how to be their father. I can't do that for you. She left him sitting at the table, her words echoing in the empty kitchen. The next morning, Daniel woke up early. 5 a.m., an hour he usually spent checking stock markets and reading financial reports. Instead, he went to the boys' room and sat in the chair between their beds, watching them sleep. Leo snored softly, his mouth slightly open. Lucas clutched a stuffed dinosaur that Emma had bought them before the accident. They looked so small. So vulnerable. So perfect. And for the first time in 6 months, instead of feeling crushing guilt when he looked at them, Daniel felt something else. Gratitude that they were alive. Determination to be worthy of that gift. Love, messy, imperfect, terrifying love. When they woke, he was there. Not watching through a screen. Not observing from a distance. Just there. Dad? Leo said, rubbing his eyes. Why are you in our room? Because I wanted to be, Daniel said simply. Is that okay? The twins exchanged one of their silent twin conversations. Then Lucas said, Can you stay for breakfast? I'm making it, Daniel replied. Fair warning, I'm still not good at pancakes. That's okay, Leo said, smiling. Anna will help you. And she did. And slowly, one morning at a time, one burned pancake at a time, one story about Emma at a time, the house that had been a museum became a home again. Not the same home as before. That home was gone, buried with Emma on a rainy October night. But a different home. One built on presence instead of protection. On showing up instead of watching. On the messy, imperfect work of healing. Anna taught Daniel how to sit on floors. How to sing silly songs. How to be at eye level with grief and joy simultaneously. How to be present even when it hurt, especially when it hurt. And the twins taught him something more important, that love doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. That being a father isn't about getting everything right. It's about showing up when you've gotten it all wrong and trying again. And again. And again. Until one day, you realize you're not trying anymore. You're just living. The kitchen smelled like burnt toast, Daniel's specialty, and something else. Cinnamon. Sugar. The chaos of Sunday morning breakfast. Anna stood at the stove, teaching all three of them how to make churros. No, Lucas, you have to twist it as you pipe. Like this. She demonstrated, her hands swift and sure. Leo tried to copy her, his wheelchair positioned close to the counter, modified utensils in his small hands. Mine looks like a worm. A delicious worm, Daniel assured him, his own churro looking equally pathetic. Lucas laughed. Dad, yours is worse. Probably, Daniel admitted. But we're going to eat them anyway. The piano in the living room sat open, sheet music scattered across its surface. They'd been taking lessons, all four of them, together, every Tuesday evening. Daniel was the worst student, but he showed up. That was the important part. Emma's photos were back on the mantel, facing forward now. The twins talked about her freely. Sometimes they cried. Sometimes they laughed. Always, they remembered. Anna had become family in the way that sometimes happens, not through blood, but through showing up. She'd been offered a promotion, a job managing a cleaning company that would triple her salary. She'd turned it down. These boys need consistency, she'd said. And honestly, I need them too. Daniel had increased her salary anyway. And created a college fund for her brother. And made sure she had health insurance, paid vacation, and every benefit he could legally provide. Not because he was buying her loyalty. but because she'd taught him that family takes care of each other. That morning, as they ate misshapen churros and made plans for the day, therapy, then the park, then maybe a movie, Daniel's phone rang. Work. A crisis. The kind that used to have him running to the office immediately. "I need to take this," he said, stepping into the hallway. The call was important. A deal falling apart. Investors panicking. His presence required. "I can't come in," Daniel said, surprising himself with how easy the words were. "It's Sunday. I'm with my family. Email me the details. I'll handle it tomorrow." He hung up before they could argue. When he returned to the kitchen, Anna raised an eyebrow. "Everything okay?" "It will be," Daniel said. "Tomorrow. Today, I promised Lucas I'd help him beat level 7 of his video game, and I'm not breaking that promise." Leo grinned. "Dad, you're terrible at video games." "I know," Daniel agreed, ruffling his son's hair. "But I'm trying to get better. At lots of things." That night, after the boys were asleep, after stories and songs and the 2-hour bedtime routine that Daniel now cherished instead of resented, he stood in their doorway and watched them breathe. No cameras. No screens. Just his eyes and his presence. Anna appeared beside him, having finished the evening cleanup. "They're good kids," she said softly. "They are," Daniel agreed. "Because of you." "Because of all of us," Anna corrected. "That's how family works. We show up for each other." Daniel nodded, thinking about the cameras he'd removed months ago. About the distance he'd maintained. About the control he'd thought would protect everyone but had only protected his own fear. "Thank you," he said. "For sitting on the floor with them. For teaching me how to do the same." Anna smiled. "Thank you for learning. Not everyone does." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the twins sleep. And Daniel realized something profound. He'd spent 6 months trying to protect his sons from more pain, more loss, more grief. He'd thought that by watching from a distance, by controlling everything, by staying removed, he could keep them safe. But safety wasn't the gift his sons needed. Presence was. Love was. The willingness to sit on cold kitchen floors and play drums with pots and pans. The courage to show up, imperfect and afraid, again and again. The revolutionary act of being there, even when, especially when, it hurt. Because that's what family does. They show up. They sit on floors. They make mistakes. They burn pancakes. They learn piano together. They remember the dead and celebrate the living. They hold each other through the pain because they know, really know, that pain is just the price of love. And love, even broken and healing and imperfect, is always, always worth it. Have you been watching your own life through screens, literal or metaphorical, instead of living it? Have you protected yourself from pain by keeping distance from the people who need you most? Have you convinced yourself that observation is the same as presence, that control is the same as love, that protecting your heart is more important than opening it? The truth is this: we all have cameras we hide behind. Work. Busyness. Perfectionism. Fear. The illusion that we'll show up fully once we have it all figured out, once we're ready, once the timing is right. But life doesn't wait for perfect timing. Children grow. Relationships fade. Moments pass. And all the watching in the world can't replace the simple, courageous act of sitting on the floor beside someone and saying, "I'm here. I'm scared. I don't have answers. But I'm here." Daniel's cameras couldn't save his sons. Only his presence could. Anna's love couldn't replace Emma. But it could remind 2 grieving boys that they were still worthy of love. And together, a broken father, a compassionate caregiver, and 2 brave little boys, they built something new from something shattered. Not because they were perfect. but because they showed up. Who in your life needs your presence, not your observation? Is it your children? Your partner? Your aging parents? A friend going through something hard? Yourself? What cameras, what excuses, what fears, what busyness, are you hiding behind? And most importantly, what would happen if you removed them? If you sat on the floor? If you showed up, messy and imperfect and afraid, and said, "I'm here"? You don't need to have it figured out. You don't need to be ready. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up. Today. Right now. In this moment. Because the people you love don't need your perfection. They need your presence. If this story moved you, do 3 things. 1. Share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Post it where others might find it. Stories have power, not just to entertain, but to change hearts. Help this message reach the people who need it most. 2. Act on it. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, reach out to someone you've been watching from a distance. Show up for them. Sit on the floor with them, literally or metaphorically. Be present, even if it's awkward, even if it's hard. 3. Tell me your story. In the comments below, share, what's one small way you're going to choose presence over distance this week? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their own first step. Remember, the cameras are off. The screens are dark. All that's left is the choice to show up. Will you? If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we can remind the world that presence, not perfection, is what heals us. And if you're struggling with grief, distance, or fear, know this, you're not alone. And it's never too late to start showing up. Let's show up for each other. Starting now.